Let me get rid of the audio sound. That's not enough. Here's my thing as I take a seat. In 5, 4. Hello. I'd like to just take a minute and talk about lenses and cameras and things that I love and have a passion for, because I find myself in many groups and I try and give advice on things, but most times it's very hard because you're in this large crowd of people and they're all competing for your attention in some way, shape, or form. So it's kind of not the best way to get advice, being that it's most often not the best information that you receive back. Being a new photographer, as I've been doing this now for a long time, I think. Think, no, find, and see. And you basically don't realize how long you've been doing it until you see some questions that are honestly new and that you have that you would answer so differently after making purchases and having real money invested into this before you've made money on a lot of these things, as a lot of people aren't really lucky enough to just step into it and be handed a job in photography, which lucky enough, I mean, you can meet some people and that can happen. It happened with me. I mean, you was literally like getting a camera and getting into it. So being lucky now to at least 15 years of being able to say that I've tried so and so many amount of lenses and different systems and have been on all of them, like from Nikon to Canon to Sony to Fuji to pretty much even tried Sigma at one point in time, and they had some very good cameras. Haven't tried Marin or any other big ones yet, but pretty much they're all the same. It's just a tool. I'm not going to say that there are not minute differences between any of them, but for the average person, these differences are so negotiable that it doesn't matter. You're honestly better off saving your money and buying the best item you can for the least amount of money, used, and being happy with it. For instance, first started out in Canon. I started out in Canon on a Rebel back in the day, the Rebel 1, like right when it first became digital, and pretty much found that was happy. Everything was really expensive, but I didn't know much about composition or how to light a picture. So it was really difficult for me at that time to even gauge what good glass was, and not really comprehending, first of all, what a crisp shot was when it was my fault, whether it was out of focus or it was the system's fault, meaning that the camera itself fails, as they sometimes do, to track focus and find the subject quick enough for you, where then you learn sometimes that it's easier to do manual. Sometimes you find that you need a better camera system where that's in the body. But a majority of that is user error, and if it's a marginally decent lens, and I mean a decent lens can be had for, honestly, for $100. Like in almost any, I won't say any full focal length, but any normal range focal length between your 28 to 70 zoom that the average person would use as their kit lens. You want a good sharp one with a good 2.8 aperture. In almost any system, you can get one either used or pretty much always used for about $100, and that's with a 2.8 aperture and with almost as good as sharpness as any of the top brands glass at that time. And that's really factual. Like the differences between what you would have in my system, Sony. I love Sony, so It would be like one of their G Master or one of the Zeiss lenses. I guarantee that the average person could not pick out a picture from one of those and a cheap Tamron or Sigma or a Tokina. I love their lenses. Or an old Minolta lens, which are, I love them more so than a lot of the newer lenses because of the character you get from the lens. And that character is translated in your picture and coloring and the amount of chromatic aberrations that are displayed in the picture, how well the camera handles light, how well it deals with little things from light that become what we would have wanted film in that type of lens and the type of camera format that we all now do in post in our Lightroom or Photoshop or Photo One or Camera One, I think that is, or any of the other photo manipulation programs is basically what I'm trying to say. The look that you create there after getting your picture is you essentially doing what we would have done in a darkroom. And a majority of getting that picture crisp and sharp is a decent lens, and there's no such thing as a perfect lens, first and foremost. The more expensive lenses are just making the least trade-offs between the refractions you get on bending light, because that's the whole principle of this. It's physics. You're bending light into a lens onto a little piece of silicone, hoping to capture a picture. And doing that, you create distortions in those wavelengths of light that they are trying to then beat back with different filters and coatings and polishings and what they do to our lenses to make some of them cost $2,000 or $3,000 for a 2-pound piece of glass. That to me makes no sense if you don't make your livelihood from this. And even if you do make your livelihood from it, why not make your livelihood go a little further by using a lens that didn't cost you an arm and a leg and is just as good as one of the other lenses, if not better, if you look at some of the many reviews that we have out here from DIO Optics. There's some tongue twisting on that, or Dynex, or any of the lens exchanges that we have online that are pretty good places to see reviews. I mean, even Amazon has pretty good reviews on lenses because you get to see the person's photo. And if the person is really good at taking a picture, the photo looks really good. And then you get this L series lens or this Nikon. Oh, I used to love their lens. I actually left one of those lenses on a train. Who loses a $2,000 lens? But hey, I mean, if you choose to waste the money on that, you can be happy. You'll be very happy. And then you often find that the other pieces of hardware that would make your creative endeavors a little easier can't be had because you spent $2,000 on a lens. For instance, you can spend $100 on a 70 to 24. You can spend another, I'll say on average, about $300 on a 70 to 200, both at 2.8, in any one of those off companies that come with VR if you need it in your system. A lot of times on Canon and Nikon. Then basically even Olympus and the Micro Four Thirds, it tends to run a little different though, because their prices are just what it is. Like those lenses are expensive, but the good thing is they're all so interchangeable. You will find used lenses there too in that same exact price range and aperture. So there's no excuse to waste $1,000 on a lens, is what I feel. If you're gonna waste $1,000, spend it on lighting, reflectors. You're gonna need tons of light modifiers. You're gonna need tons of cables, a better computer. Seriously, some of these files you pull off these cameras are 40 and 50 megabytes a second. Like, and you're still trying to work on your laptop or MacBook, which Like, nothing against Apple, but unless you can afford one of their desktops, I'd build me a computer and install Apple on it. Just make yourself a Hackintosh. There's nothing wrong, well, supposedly wrong with it. But I'd buy a copy of Apple, as I do, and on my computer I have a Mac OS on my Windows machine with an AMD processor, 3900X. Very good machine. And you could have that along with your lens. Spend $100 on a lens, you can spend $300 on any one of the portable flash monolights that currently come with batteries. I mean, you can go outside and get high-speed sync with them now. They're $300 a piece. Would you learn a lot more with a camera body, and flash, and modifiers? Or would you rather just have one lens for $1,000? Just wonder. You still need at least a few more now to cover a few focal lengths, depending on whether or not you like prime or zoom. I mean, I tend to like both. I like the convenience of having zoom when I'm out and about and doing videos and things like that, and I'd like to be able to, you know, have a prime lens because they're actually sharper. Most times you really don't notice the difference though, unless it's like macro photography or I'll say a lot of portrait shots. I like those just because I like to be able to create the extra bit of bokeh I get from a 1.8 versus a 2.8 lens. Like, the difference is actually substantial. The difference between a 1.4 and a 1.8 lens on some of the really nice ones is really amazing. But that's when you start getting into needing a specific lens in a niche because of the fact that you want a specific look that you can't create with the hardware that you have. That's when you need to spend $1,000 or whatever the heck the lens costs, is when you're willing to give it up. And then you charge for it because you have clientele that see that look and like it, and you're going to gain more money or more clientele. It's going to generate more revenue from you in some way, shape, or form for you to require this more expensive lens. Otherwise, don't waste your money. Learn, be happy, make your pictures, make all of the art that you want from it, and stop giving everyone else all of your hard-earned money for you to still learn in a skill to be able to enjoy it, which is simply what the majority of this is for. It's simple enjoyment. Like, you didn't pick up a camera with the intention to make money from it. You picked up the camera with the intention to say, hey, there's a piece of time in life I saw outside that I loved, and I chose to capture that moment because it conveyed and stirred something in my soul and heart. So that's generally why we picked up a camera. And then some of us learn that you love it so much that there's nothing else you want to do. So, hey, enjoy that. Don't give it away. That's your freedom. Don't let someone else steal it. But enough of my rant for the lenses, and hopefully some of you will make some good choices and at least rent some lenses out and learn to see that lens beforehand, whether or not all your friends say, hey, go grab that $1,200 lens with all the new bells and whistles on it that came out last year, and rent it first. It's not, or ask to borrow theirs, go into a store. Like, find a way to try it first. And you'll often see that the results that you get from it and the results that you got from one in a cheaper competitor's lens are blindly cannot be seen. Take some pictures and leave them on your computer and go back a few weeks later. Don't look at your EIF data to see who or what or when you took that picture. You'll remember. Then you know what you do? You try and pick out who won with what lens, and you'll see very quickly that you pretty much can't tell those shots apart. And at that point, save yourself some money. Put it in your pocket. You could buy 2 lenses. You could go save the world. Donate the money. The point is, you have more resources to do more with them instead of just wasting and giving your money away to somebody else. Came along this year, pushed out a new lens just because they need more sales. that's what this is. When you look online and see lenses that are 30 years old still working perfectly fine and work better than a lot of the newer lenses, and I mean better as in they have character. It's not so clinically stale that the shot is too perfect. Yeah, that sounds crazy, but some of the shots are too perfect, I think, and they don't add. There's no warmth or glow or any bit of life and love in that picture because of the clinical aesthetics of some of the lenses. So find your lens with character, enjoy them, save yourself some money, and have a good day.